Well, hello, everybody. I really enjoyed Janet's talk. Even though it was 15 minutes, it was full of wonderful information. And I hope the rest of this time will be helpful to all of you as you continue to think about parenting teens. One of the things that I want to come back to over and over again is trying to get in the minds of teens and then thinking about how we can use our time with teens. And so during this time, we're going to be just thinking about, okay, how can we go from yes, this is what we need to do, but put it into our schedule. And before we do that, I just want to raise a question to you all. It should be on Menti. You'll see it on Menti. There's a question on Menti, and it'll come up on the screen for you all to see. It's basically based off of scenario. You've got this scenario. You'll see it on Menti coming up, where there's a teen and a parent talking to one another. And so it begins. And you've got, you're sitting down for dinner. You sit together as a family, which is a great thing. Your teenage son or daughter sits down grumpy, which is a very common thing. And you ask, how was your day? And they say, fine. You ask, what did you do today? They respond, nothing. Again, you ask, you didn't do anything today? They say, yeah. So what do you do in a time like that? What do you do next? And I've given you 4 options. A, finish dinner and move on with the evening. B, say with frustration, why can't you talk more? C, change the topic of conversation and ask more questions later. Or D, say you look a bit upset, what's wrong? What's wrong? So let's see what the responses are. We have several people responding right now. 33% say change the topic of conversation, ask more questions later. Great. 50% say you look a bit upset. What's wrong? 5% say finish dinner and move on with the evening. Okay. And then 13% say with frustration, why can't you talk more? Well, every situation is going to be different. And I specifically put this question in here because there is no clear answer for every particular situation. Now, the first 2 aren't the best things to do. Just ignore it and move on. Now, yes, you could ignore it for a time, a short period of time, but then you have to address it. You have to go into your child's life and learn to relate to them. Or you could get really frustrated, but in the end, how does that help? But there are options where you just move on with the conversation and may address it later, or you can ask them what's wrong. There are many things, and the first thing as I think about teens is they're not an equation. They're not a mathematical equation where you know exactly what to do in every situation. And the key is to know your teen well so you know what to do. And so as we think about time, I want to think about 3 things that will help you in situations like that, not just to see it as one situation that you respond to, but a lifestyle. How do you, in your lifestyle with your family, take priority in putting priority in your children's lives? So number 1, a transforming mindset. A transforming mindset. This is one thing I want you to get from my time with you. Your teenager is a gift. Now, this is a transforming mindset. Your teenager is a gift. Now, gifts have value. And for some people, if you get a gift, like a friend of mine who got a gift from their spouse and immediately they were trying to sell it on the internet. Now, they didn't really value that gift. We all receive gifts all the time. Now, one thing I want to say about teenagers is they are an immeasurably valuable gift. Their value is immeasurable. And one of the things about them being a gift is not so much the value of what they do, but who they are. It's an intrinsic value that each teenager has. And if you take one thing from my time with you, it's this: remember that your teen is a gift. It'll change the way you see every scenario. So when they're frustrating, you still respond, they're a gift. Because why? The fact that they are a gift does not depend on how they act and what they do or the circumstances you're in. It's who they are. They are a gift no matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter how well they score on their exams, no matter who their friends are, no matter what they want to do in the future, they are always and forever will be a gift. And that changes everything in the way we relate to our children. Now, as I've talked about thinking about time, I want to do two more things. I want to quickly give you an assessment way of looking at your life as you think about the time that you use. And so we're going to do these three things: assess your time, reflect on where you want to grow, and act on what you will start and stop. At ViGEO, we use this assessment test called the Wheel of Time, or on the internet, you can also see the Wheel of Life. And you'll see on our blog, we have a blog that covers the same material that I'm going to be covering right now. So if you miss some of the things, then please feel free, go to our blog, and you can use it as a way to assess your life, assess your time and the priorities that you have. So this is how it works. Basically, you've got these circles, and this is what an empty wheel of time looks like. So you've got these circles, and there's 5 concentric circles, each within each other. And then there's lines that cut it like a pizza. And at the end of each of those lines are lines that you will write something down. So if you have a pen and paper right now, you can try and do it. Or later, when you look at our blog, you can do this. Take 15 to 30 minutes and just do this yourself. It's a wonderful activity. I plan on doing it again after this weekend. And it'll help me as I think about my priorities. So first, you've got these 5 concentric circles. And you draw those, and then you draw 4 lines. Now, you could do 5 lines, in which case there would be 10 slices, or you can do 6 lines, in which there are 12 slices. But basically, each slice is going to be a role or a routine in your life. And notice how there are percentages. You've got 100% is on the outside, 80%, then 60%, 40%, 20%. Now, how does this actually relate to your time? The next step you need to take is you need to look at all of these lines that you have and put a category or a role or a routine in your life at the end of those lines. So you see at all of these, you've got career, you have father, husband, whatever your role might be. It could be a routine in your life, exercise. It could be a value you have, like your spiritual life. It could be reading, a hobby. It could be entertainment. These are the things that are important to you, or just things that you do every week. So you write those 8 things, or if you have 10, you do 10 things, and you write those at the end of each of the lines. And then the next step is that you want to think about what is the ideal amount of time you want to spend in each of these areas. So look at the top, spiritual life. So say you want to spend an hour a day in your spiritual life. And so that's 7 hours in the week. Okay, so this is thinking about your weekly schedule. What do you devote your time to, and what do you want to devote your time to? So first, in parentheses, next to each of those different roles or routines, you'll write a number. That's the number of hours that you want to spend in the week. So next, you've got exercise. That's 3 hours. So say you want to do 30 minutes 6 days a week. That's 3 hours, right? Father, say you want to spend 2 hours a day with your children. That'd be 14. Husband, 14. Entertainment, 7. And then you see career, 40 hours. So these are the hours that you ideally want to spend in each role or routine. And then after that, you'll notice there's X's on each of these lines that are connected to each role or routine. And on that X is what you not ideally want to see happen. It's what you actually see happen. And so if you were, say, again, spiritual life, 7 hours. So if you go down to the amount that you actually spend, maybe you spend about 5.5 hours. And so you do about 80% of what you ideally would want to do. Then you see exercise. And exercise, this is the area that we all neglect, isn't it? And instead of the 100% being on the outside, you probably do about 20%, which is maybe 30 minutes in the week, right? And then you have the father. And this is where you want to do 14 hours. And instead you do 40% of that time, which is somewhere about 5 hours in the week. And then you've got the husband. And again, you do only 5 hours entertainment. And that's where you see, whoa, I am doing 100% of my entertainment, right? And then you've got career, you're doing 100% of that. And so what you see is there's this kind of imbalance in our lives where we devote the time that we ideally should devote in certain areas, and we don't devote the time we ideally should in other areas. And so then this is an example of somebody who has done 10 different areas. And this is what it kind of looks like is you connect all of those X's and you see where your balance and your strengths and weaknesses are. And so as you do that, you see, okay, where am I prioritizing my time? Not just where I want to prioritize my time, but where do I actually prioritize my time? And so this will help you to see where you're balanced, where you're misbalanced, the things that you're neglecting and the things that you want to invest more time in. And so the first thing you do with that tool is you're assessing your time. The second thing you want to do after you've seen the kind of areas where you feel like you're neglecting, you want to reflect on where you want to grow. So you can ask reflection questions like, where are the places where I need to spend more time in this particular wheel of time? Where are the places I need to spend less time in this particular wheel of time? Why do I spend more time in one area and less time in another? Or should I adjust my expectations in the way I view how much time I ideally would spend in each particular area? Now, this is really helpful. I plan on doing it again after this weekend because I have a lot of things coming up and I need to really reflect again on how I use my time. But it's not helpful unless you actually act on it, right? Some of us love to reflect, but don't act as much. We need to do both. And so what you want to do after you've reflected on it is you want to act on what you will start and what you will stop. So things that you're going to start are the areas where you feel like you've neglected. So in this picture, you could see that this particular person is neglecting being a team member on his particular field of work, right? So what he needs to do is he needs to kind of expand that and give more time to building relationships on the team. Or say he spends a lot of time in being a sports player, and that's where you need to stop. You need to kind of come back and think, how can I spend less time in this area so that I can give more time in others? In other words, this is just a really helpful tool for you to assess where you are and where you want to go. And my guess for all of us is one of the areas that we all feel weak is we want to give more time to our children. If they are a gift, if they are of such value that they can never, they're priceless gifts, we want to give more time to them. So this is as a way to assess. But finally, what can we do with our children? What are the things that we can do? What are some steps that we can take in our lives and in the way we spend our time with our children? Here are 4 tips for life. Number 1, prioritize family times, right? So this is, again, we're thinking about time. Think about the times where you can be together as a family. If it's dinner or breakfast, or if it's going for walks, or if it's finding enjoyable things that you like to do together. It could be related to the sports that one of your children plays. It's family times, which doesn't necessarily mean having deep, intense talks, but just having time together, prioritizing that time and seeing it as valuable. If you see your child as a gift, this is something that you will want to value. The second thing, observe times when your teen talks. Observe times when they talk. So this is where you see in their life, there are certain times where they're going to just say, yep, nope, I'm fine. And often those are times where maybe they just don't like to talk. Maybe they prefer to talk in the evenings rather than the mornings, or maybe they prefer to talk in the mornings rather than the evenings, or maybe for some kids, it's just you catch them at a time where you're driving in the car, or it's the middle of the night and you're about to go to sleep and they want to talk. Observe those times and make it a priority. think about their time. So don't just try to fit them into your schedule, though you need to think about your schedule and you have to. And the next item, I'm going to be talking about that. But you also want to think, what are those times where they're more talkative, where they're willing to talk to you? And that's when you really need to maximize that time. Third, create boundaries for technology time. So on the one hand, we want to get into our children's schedules, but on the other hand, we want to think about our teens as people who need help in creating boundaries. Even though they are growing and they're trying to push boundaries, they're trying to think about what they can do as almost an adult. They're adjusting, their life is changing before your eyes. At the same time, they still need your input. They still need boundaries. And specifically, one area where it's so easy for teens to get sucked into something that isn't valuable, that isn't helping their relationship with you, they're not helping them progress into the future, is technology. Now, technology is not a bad thing. You're using technology right now, but there needs to be good boundaries. So think about it. Probably the best thing to do is not just to go after this session and say, we're going to make you cannot use your social media for the rest of the evening. Now, that is not a good idea. That's not going to help you. But think clearly and then discuss it with your team. Think, okay, what are some boundaries we can make to help you flourish more in, say, your studies, or so that we can have time together as a family, or if there are certain hobbies that they enjoy besides just playing video games, where they can actually learn and grow, to help them create boundaries. So in other words, don't just create the boundaries for them, but include them in a way in that decision so that they can own that decision of creating boundaries for technology in their life. Fourth thing is this: say no to some things to say yes to your team. Ultimately, just like in the Wheel of Time, we're always saying yes to one thing and saying no to another. And this is where you really just need to assess your schedule, think about your time, and learn to say no to some things so you can say yes to even better things. And so again, those 4 tips. The first thing that we see is that we need to prioritize family times. The second thing is that we need to observe times when they talk. Third, create boundaries for technology time. And fourth, say no to some things to say yes to your team. I just want to end again on the note that our teens are a gift. Our teens are a gift. And I want to encourage you, even tonight, just to say, it might feel awkward, but just to say you're a gift. You can say it to your child. That's something that I've learned early on from a friend of mine who often would say to his wife, you're a gift. And he would often say to his children, you're a gift. And it's something that I've taken on. And even in the days when I see rebellion in my children, I can say, you're a gift. Thank you.